This is a DC616 Dewalt cordless nail gun. These cordless nail guns are really useful for off-grid construction projects and quick in and out handyman tasks like this fence that I'm repairing here. What I'm dealing with is we're trying to maintain the look of the old fence, okay? So by maintaining the look of the old fence, I want to use as much of the old lumber as possible, because as soon as I put a new piece of wood where it shows, it's going to be a pretty bad mismatch. So on this, I need to salvage some of these little pieces. I'm going to be gluing them in place, and what I've done is I put a backer here that's going to allow me to work with that. On the upper piece, I may be cutting this part off and using a backer on that upper piece too as a reinforcement. But I'd like to avoid that and reduce weight. So one of the ways that I did this before on this fence is we use a little nail gun, and here you can see that I've scabbed some of the broken off pieces onto here, and they held. And this has been it's about a year old repair. But normally you would use a nail gun like this for installing trim. In off-grid projects, realize you may not always have the electrical power to get a air compressor going. In handyman projects in a nice neighborhood like what I'm doing now, the issue is I don't want to run an air compressor around here and bother these people. Okay, I want to be able to get in, out, get the job done, and get paid and leave. And so we don't want to run an air compressor here. That's where these things really excel, in spite of their quirks. The quirks on this is that you can pull it out of the box, and quite likely the battery's going to be dead, because these use nickel cadmium batteries, which have to be freshly charged before use. You can get a aftermarket, well, it's not really aftermarket, but an upgrade lithium-ion battery from Dewalt. It's an 18-volt that works with this type of battery system. But that is not recommended for use in the Pacific Northwest because it's not a waterproof or water-resistant battery. Here, if I'm in the rain and I have the Dewalt tools, I have no problem at all with the nickel-cadmium batteries. Nickel-cadmium batteries from Dewalt also have really good power, a really good power dump. So they run this tool with really no diminishing of performance compared to an air compressor tool. One of the things I run into with some of the other models, though, is reliability of the feed mechanism. There's little labels that'll say don't lubricate it. I ignore those labels after a while just because the lubrication is necessary. Although every once in a while, depending on the make and brand of the nails that you're using, sometimes you have to take that little mechanism apart and clean tape or paper remnants out that was used to hold the nails together. And I've also had no significantly better luck with the DeWalt or Stanley brand nails. On this project, I've just picked up some nails at Harbor Freight, because with these straight 16 gauge nails, the good news is this thing uses industry standard nails. It's not highly proprietary. The battery life on this, I can go pretty long on this because it's an intermittent use battery. When I run the tool, the way this works is it's on, it's ready to go. We've got a locking mechanism here just to keep it from, let's say, firing a nail inside of your vehicle. The red stuff on there is blood from my finger. That was from another little mishap with a dull blade here. So basically, you press, you'll hear the little onboard air compressor begin, and that little onboard air compressor will produce enough to fire a single nail. Well, there's two ways you can work with this. One is a bump fire, which means that you can pull the trigger and pull, or you place it, wait for the air compressor to build up a little bit of air, and then fire. You've got that little thing here. I don't run this in bump fire, they call it automatic mode. I don't run these in automatic mode because I want to be really careful where I'm placing nails. Somebody who's trying to do a lot of work in a hurry, they like to use the bump fire mode. Maybe the guys who are a little bit more on a professional side like to use the bump fire mode to show off. I personally just do the single fire mode, and it seems pretty reliable that way. It's a little bit more reliable than, let's say, the 15 gauge angle nailer, but you've got that shortcoming of the nails aren't super strong. Okay, this is primarily for interior trim, but again, when you get into little repair type stuff like this, you don't want to use full-size nails. They'll just split the wood even worse. Durability on this thing, obviously this one's been around the block, and it seems to take a licking and keep on ticking. It seems to do okay. The feed mechanism is polymer, with a little metal liner inside. But again, seems pretty durable. It's that typical DeWalt quality, professional quality stuff. Would I recommend this tool? Yes, mainly because it's one of the very few on the market that even does what it does, which is a cordless 18-volt power tool that doesn't require an air compressor. And on jobs like this, you can't just hold a nail and bang it with a hammer without doing more damage, which means you really need to use a nail gun on this kind of stuff. And for handyman, off-grid type work, I'll recommend it, but you need to understand these tools are going to have their quirks, and you got to keep it clean and make sure your batteries are charged up before you roll out to the job site.